All right. Let me share my screen here and see if we can get going. So, can I get someone to confirm that you're seeing the beautiful Black Canyon and the all staff meeting?
Can see it. You guys can see it.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Okay, we're going to start. We've got a lot of information to cover. I'm just going to do just one or two housekeeping things to start. First, handouts have been sent to your supervisors, and you should have them there on site ready to go. But I've asked that they don't pass them out until the end. Want to be able to get through the presentation without confusion or interruptions or people paying attention to the paper and not to the presentation. So we're going to hold off on handing those out to the end. But hopefully in combination with my presentation and with those handouts, all of your questions will be answered. Other than that, I think that we're ready to go. If you should have any questions, we're going to ask that those be submitted via the chat. And we'll look at those at the end and see if we can get those questions answered. And we're ready to go. So 12:33, not too bad. So what are we exactly trying to accomplish today? The first thing that we're trying to accomplish is generating some excitement and some enthusiasm and some buy-in to our vision to be the best in patient satisfaction. This is hopefully the war cry, the rallying call, the whatever you want to call it, that hopefully we can all rally behind a vision to be the best. I don't say to be better, to be mediocre, to meet the standard. I want to be the best, and I'm going to use this presentation to hopefully rally us behind that shared vision. On a similar vein, yet different, and I'm going to talk to this, we need to continue to embrace a culture of collaboration, of teamwork, of I got your back, you got mine. And we'll talk to that. We're going to present a new bonus program to support those first two bullets, and want everyone to walk away with a pretty firm understanding. I think that's where this is the focus, these 4 bullets. So we're going to hop right into it. Everyone should have a pretty good understanding of what our mission is. Everyone knows that a business has a mission statement. This is our mission statement. Our mission is to serve Western Colorado communities by providing high quality, compassionate, comprehensive healthcare to all ages. This is something that we can all get behind. This is a mission. This is what our owners have desired this business to accomplish. And so this is what we're all rallying behind, is this mission. We all participate in this mission, and there are supporting vision statements and value statements. And one of our values has been patient satisfaction. And I wanted to bring that back to your attention. That statement says, We will provide compassionate, patient-centered care that surpasses each patient's expectations. We will engage our patients and listen to their input. I've thought a lot about that and what it means for us and how we can drive that as an organization. And as I've thought about that, there's an interesting thing that's come to my mind. A lot of you probably recognize this man. This is Dr. John Lambert. He's one of the founding partners of Cedar Point Health, or at least what was Cedar Point Health, starting back in the 70s. He was one of the first physicians and internists in Montrose. The name of that organization back then was Internal Medicine Specialty Group. Dr. John Lambert is an amazing man. He is the epitome of this value statement and what we want. John Lambert still works for us. He's, we say this jokingly, semi-retired. He's no longer one of the physician owners, but cares for patients on a limited basis in the clinic and at the night for the hospitalist program. I've come to admire the way that he has gone about his career and his life. He treats everyone like a human that has feelings, that has concerns, that has ambitions and goals. And it's as though he hangs his reputation on every single patient interaction that he has. And I've come to really admire that. He is who he is, and he's proud of that. Yet he's humble. He just cares about what he does. And that's something that I admire personally and want to implement. And I think that he's somebody that we can kind of look to in our organization as to what this really means to be compassionate and patient-centered and to strive to surpass each patient's expectations. So I'm going to change gears a little bit. There is an entire shift of the healthcare industry in the United States. And I'm not going to get into political and argue if it's good or if it's bad and all that sort of stuff, but it's a reality. And we've traditionally had what's called fee-for-service. And that's simply we provide a service for a patient and we get paid for it. But we're moving to what they're terming pay for performance. And that's not just getting paid for providing a service, but what's the level of quality of that service that was provided? How satisfied were the patients with the service that you provided? What was the cost of that service? And so that's the shift that we're facing. There's a thinking that fee-for-service is this kind of jokes, that it drives unnecessary healthcare, that we kind of run tests to the nth degree in order to generate more revenue and more fees for the services that we're providing. Of course, I'm not suggesting that's what Cedar Point Health has been doing at all, but that's the thinking in the healthcare industry. And we're moving towards this pay for performance. And that's kind of been discussed, what originally was called the triple aim, three focuses, but the fourth one is added and is now the quadruple aim. And that includes quality, provider experience, cost, and patient experience. This is the so-called quadruple aim. And so we're going to talk a lot today about patient experience and what that means and our organization and how we're going to try and build some excitement around that. So I'm sure you're all admiring this beautiful drawing that I did here on this PowerPoint slide. A lot of you will recognize what this is. This is Pac-Man eating the little monsters or whatever you call them. And what this is conveying is we have a business strategy, but strategy is not the only thing that's important. We have a lot of smart people that are helping us build that strategy. Our leadership team is really strong. Our owners are exceptionally smart and understand the industry well. There's a lot of experienced physicians that know how to deliver healthcare in a good way. But if we have a good strategy, that's not everything. In fact, the term goes, culture eats strategy for lunch. Culture is not the most, strategy is not the most important thing to us. Culture is. Culture is who we are. Strategy does not define us. Culture defines us. And so we're going to be talking a lot about that today. So we've mentioned these two things, patient satisfaction and culture. And I'm arguing that they're two sides of the same coin, that we can't just focus on one or the other. Happy people provide happy services. People who are non-judgmental with their peers and colleagues are non-judgmental with the patients that they serve. Negativity in our organization is contagious, but so is positivity, so is kindness, so is compassion. That is the culture that we're trying to cultivate, no pun intended, and that will help us drive patient satisfaction. We can't focus on only one of these things and forget the other. They are inseparably connected. So we as a leadership team and as owners, as a board, as an organization at large, we talk a lot about how do we motivate and entice our organization in a direction that facilitates patient satisfaction and a strong internal culture. And there are different methods for motivation and different levels or tiers of motivation. The first one I kind of jokingly call the stick. So this represents that culture of fear, of punishment, of intimidation. This is, I'm going to do something because I'm in fear or I'm intimidated that I'm going to get a punishment, a smack with the stick. This is the lowest level of motivation. This is generally speaking, for most people, the lowest level, and one that we don't want to really embrace as an organization. This is last resort for us. The second one is, what I summarize by calling the carrot. This is that reward. This is dangling that carrot in front of us in hopes of motivating us and exciting us for that in a certain direction. This is doing something because you hope to get rewarded for it. And rewards can come in a lot of different ways. But of course, we're going to talk a little bit about bonuses today and what that means. But neither one of these are the strongest form of motivation. The strongest form of motivation is what I call the heart. This represents passion. This represents caring for what you do. This represents a love for the way you go about things. So these are the three levels of motivation. All have their purpose, and organizations choose to use these in different ways and methods. Our organization wants to stay away from the left side. We want to motivate with incentives. We want to motivate by creating a culture and work environment of love and care for what we do. We want to be passionate about who we are. And so we talk a lot, and try and drive that kind of a work environment and culture. Here's another image. Who doesn't love a nice ice cream sundae, right? I'm kind of using this as a metaphor to outline that our compensation at large is multifaceted and might be likened unto a sundae. So a sundae has a lot of different parts to it. It's not one component. But when these components are, layered on top of one another, they work together to produce something that's a good result. And that's like our compensation. So we have wages, we get benefits, there are perks, and there are bonuses. Every organization has different philosophies about how to weight these different things. In fact, some organizations elect to exclusively offer wages. Somebody just unmute. Oh, sorry, might have just had somebody log back in. So some organizations elect to only offer wages. They say, we're not going to take the energy and effort to organize benefits, to come up with any perks. We're not going to provide lunches or items in the break room. We're not going to provide CME. We're not going to provide any other opportunities. We're going to simply provide a wage. That's not our philosophy. We want a balanced approach. So we focus and we spend a lot of energy and effort trying to be experts on competitive wages, a comprehensive benefits package, and offer perks and day-to-day things that provide incentives and kind of attaboys and pat on the backs and thank yous for what you do. Bonuses are kind of the whipped cream and cherry on top. They're what we're using to hopefully motivate us to move in a direction as an organization. And we want you to embrace that. We hope that you don't just disregard and say, you know what, these bonuses are just a bunch of crap. I'm not going to really buy into this. That's not what we hope you do. We hope that as an organization you say, hey, you know what? I hear you. I hear that we want to move towards a stronger culture and provide good patient satisfaction. And I'm grateful that we have that bonus, that carrot to motivate me a little bit and help me move in that direction. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish with a bonus. So again, I'm just going to reemphasize that there's been a handout provided that will, again, reiterate this. So you don't need to be necessarily jotting down notes like crazy trying to keep up with this. Instead, I just recommend that you stay engaged and walk through this with me. So to recap, we're going to have a bonus that focuses on two components, patient satisfaction and culture. We've had to modify this for a few different groups in our organization. Providers who, to clarify, they will still have a significant component of patient satisfaction and culture that does not go away for them, but there has to be some modifications for them. Medical records and bookkeeping, their bonus is modified, and we'll touch base on that a little bit. They have a little bit more limited patient interaction, and as I suggest to them, frequently their patients or their customers are you. They serve the team and the staff members of Cedar Point Health. And so we have to acknowledge that. But we'll be meeting with you individually to either in your department or in one-on-one for providers to clarify this and make sure that it's all crystal clear. With these exceptions, the this is basically how it works. Your bonus potential is established by your wage and by your years of service, things that we admire, we value, and put some emphasis on years of service, but don't think that it's everything. Sometimes there's people that haven't been here very long, but are very high performers, and so we've increased their wage. And so as we look at these two different things, they can help drive a higher bonus potential. Eligibility, this has been simplified for those that were experienced on our previous bonus program. This has been modified to simply suggest that full-time employees who have been employed for the entirety of the bonus period are eligible to participate. There is a slight adjustment for part-time employees, but again, they would have had to have been employed for the entirety of the bonus period. Anyone that's on a performance plan due to poor performance will be excluded from participation in the bonus program. This program runs, generally speaking, December 1st to May 31st, and from June 1st to November 30th. So technically speaking, it's June 19th. We've started a bonus period, and I'll explain that a little bit. Providers are slightly different. They're 1 month adjusted. Administratively, we couldn't compile all this at a single date and time and do it effectively. And so they're staggered 1 month. Theirs will end June 30th and December 31st. The weight of the program is structured such that 80% of our bonuses will be weighted to patient satisfaction, and 20% is to individual performance that focuses on culture. So for the patient satisfaction side, we're going to be administering surveys to our patients. For every patient that comes in our door, we're going to offer them the opportunity to take a survey and rank us on their service that day. There's a total of 7 questions on that survey. We've used your supervisor team, a lot of research in the industry to whittle this down to simply 7 questions. One of those questions is specific to your department, and 3 are just to their overall experience at that location that day. And so of the 7 questions, 4 of them will be applicable to you. And each one of those questions will be worth 20 points for a total of 80 possible points, which reflects back on the patient satisfaction weighting here, which is 80%. For individual performance that's focused on culture, your supervisors will be going over at the end of the bonus period a performance, a 5 priority focused subjective feedback performance. So that will focus on these 5 different areas. And this is where a lot of discussion has been had. And I hope that you will totally embrace these 5 areas. When we talk about culture at Cedar Point Health, this is what we hope we mean. Grace and respect, positivity, sincerity, trustworthy and accountable, and adaptability. And one of those handouts that you'll be provided today is the actual tool that will be used with each employee to give them feedback on these 5 areas. So it is absolutely transparent, and you should have a good understanding of how we will focus on those areas. Each one of those 5 areas is worth 4 points for a total of 20 points. So you can see in combination, these 2 things equal 100 points, which reflects back again on that weighting. So just to touch base a little bit on these modified groups. So medical records and bookkeeping. We're going to replace the patient satisfaction survey with an internal group survey. So all the other departments throughout the organization will have the opportunity to give them surveyed feedback. And that's where that 80% will wait for them. Again, their customers are you, meaning those other than medical records and bookkeeping. You serve, these two departments serve the organization, and so we want them to have that same standard of providing excellent customer service, only in this instance, it's primarily to you. Providers. So this is where we'll be spending a lot of time with you individually to make sure you understand this. But similar to what's been done throughout the healthcare industry, there's going to be a work RVU, a work relative value unit set point. And for those that don't fully understand what a work RVU is, we'll sit down with you individually and we'll help explain that. That set point, every work RVU that you are able to generate after that set point will be a bonus to you. You can lower that set point by up to 100 RVUs depending on the outcome of the patient satisfaction survey and the individual performance tool as well. So those same two components apply to you, but your potential is determined by a measure of productivity. As a point of clarification here at the bottom, hospitalists or some of our physicians who already have an established bonus agreement, this does not apply to you. But don't be surprised if we try and coax you in this direction in the future. We want to be unified in our direction as an organization. So to walk you through a little bit of an example, let's say that we have this employee, Michael Scott, who's full-time and has been with the organization for 7 years, making $15 an hour. So he's between 5 and 10 years and makes $15 an hour, which is between $14 and $17 an hour. So his bonus potential is $450. Let's say at the end of the bonus period, he's culture participation, and that tool was gone over, and it was determined that he got 18 out of 20 points, and he got 65 out of 80 points on the patient satisfaction survey. His total combined, 18 plus 65, is 83 points out of a total possible 100. So 83 out of 100 is $373.50. In other words, he got 83% of the $450 potential. So hopefully that helps and is clear. We have to implement this a little bit of a phased approach, but we don't want this to drag out over months and months and months. And so we're really going to be doing some pushing because we feel that this change in our organization is needed immediately. So how that'll work, immediately now, we're going to start doing patient satisfaction surveys. Your location through your supervisor will be provided a survey collection kit, and we'll be doing collections of these surveys for 3 months. And you won't be graded on the actual results of the survey those first 3 months of this bonus semester. Instead, we're only going to be focusing on the collection of surveys. Our goal is to have 10% of the patients who visit our offices complete a survey and give it back to us. During those first 3 months, we're going to be focusing on how do we improve the patient satisfaction survey results. And we'll be giving your location regular feedback on the surveys that are coming in. At least monthly, we'll be providing you those survey results. And we're encouraging your supervisors to sit down with you in a meeting to discuss the feedback and to plan as a group how we can improve and make an impact to that patient satisfaction survey in the future. Culture is something that we immediately want to impact. So your individual performance will immediately be judged, and your focus should turn to culture, and you'll be judged for the full period that started technically in June, but you didn't know about that until today. And so as you walk out today and are provided that culture survey tool, you need to start thinking about that and how you can participate and help us embrace the culture and those 5 areas of focus on there. 3 months down the road in September, those patient satisfaction survey scores will count. And as we get closer to that time, we'll clarify what our goals are and how you can get a full score on your patient satisfaction survey and how your office can change your focus and improve. We will be giving you, again, at least monthly feedback so you feel like you know where those results are and you can talk as a group about how to impact those results. And then in December, at the end of this bonus period, of course, we'll be having patient satisfaction impact the entire period, December to May, and likewise with the individual performance feedback. So really the difference is that we're going to be focusing on collecting surveys for this first 3 months. So again, each office will receive a kit and a lockbox where these patients can put the survey. Supervisors will work with their teams to determine the best way to administer the survey at the office. Our goal is to provide every patient the opportunity to give us feedback. We don't want to cherry pick and only pick those who we know like us. We want a clear image of exactly what all of our patients think about us. Each month we'll provide you updates of the number of surveys administered and the results. And departments and locations should meet frequently to brainstorm and determine ways to improve satisfaction at their location. I, again, want you to be aware that there will be follow-up after this. Corey will follow up with care management about how this impacts their department, with medical records, and with urgent care staff. Dean will be touching base with all the primary care staff and with bookkeeping. And Dean and I together will be meeting with all providers to clarify this program for them. So I'm going to use a little bit of a funny analogy here. I hope that some people recognize what this is. This is the original Nintendo. And I played this a fair amount as a kid. And one of my favorite games, which some of you might recognize, was Mega Man. This little blue dude. And it was a really hard game as a kid, but I still enjoyed playing it. It was really hard for me as a kid. I never got really good at it. But when things got messed up, when I wasn't making good progress, when I was running out of lives, sometimes I had to utilize one of the 2 buttons on the front of the machine. That's the reset button, which would start me over from the beginning and allow me to kind of take a fresh look and a fresh start at this game. And at times, we're all a little bit like this. And for some of us, we need to hit the reset button, so to speak. For some of us, we've taken offense from something our coworkers have said. For some of us, we don't have the trust that we'd like with leadership or with coworkers. For some of us, we have emotionally lost interest in what we're doing at work day to day. For some of us, we're in a little bit of a rut. Please consider how you can hit the reset button. That doesn't mean that you just wake up one day and everything's different. Although I think there's a component of that. There's a mentality that has to change. For some of us, that means confronting an issue. For some of us, that means going to a supervisor and expressing to them what our concern is and what our frustration might be. For some of us, that might mean going to a peer and seeking forgiveness. It might mean saying that we're sorry for something we did. There's a lot of different ways that we can hit the reset button, but I would encourage you to do it. And I think that you'll find that this can be sort of a fresh start for you. I'm going to circle back around and just end with John Lambert again and sort of this statement that we have. We will provide compassionate, patient-centered care that surpasses each patient's expectations. We will engage our patients and listen to their input. John Lambert set an incredible example for me, and the more time I've spent with him, the more I've come to admire the man. And we all have different idols. I'm not suggesting that John has to be your idol, though I don't know how you couldn't admire the man. Think about who you admire and why. Do you have somebody in your life that's exceptionally kind? Do you have somebody who's exceptionally motivated in your life? Do you have somebody who goes above and beyond and tries to surpass what the standard expectation is? Whoever that person is, think of that person and set goals to become more like them, to follow their good example. We all have those role models in our lives. I think John sets a good example for our organization. And I think that a lot of the values that exist in our organization exist because John Lambert was part of this organization. That's the kind of impact he had with what is now Cedar Point Health and still has today. I'm trying to hit the reset button in some ways. We all can step back and say we've had a very challenging 6 or 8 months as our organization has grown a lot. These are good things. These are good challenges to have. But what's most important is patient satisfaction and culture. We have to put those two things first. And I'm going to do everything in my power to put those two things first for this organization. I'm very proud of who we are. I'm grateful to be working alongside all of you and excited to implement this bonus program that provides maybe a little extra motivation, a little bit of a carrot to move us in a direction. So that's what I've prepared for you today. And I'm going to look here to see if there's any questions that have come in. I don't see anything immediately on here. Is there anyone that has a question that I can help answer for them immediately? So some of you might have to get running back to work. Others of you might have a couple minutes. If you have a couple minutes, take a minute to talk about this as a group, to embrace this, to brainstorm a little bit about how we can embrace this as an organization. Again, thank you for all you're doing. Dean and I are anxious to get out to each site to talk about this, to continue generating excitement around this. Thank you. That's what Dean always says. He's good about saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate each one of you, and look forward to another great 6 months with our organization.